Hi, I'm Darryl Romphf from Lumberjunk, and this is loudguitars.com.
Hi, this is Pamela with loudguitars.com. We're at the Kitchener Blues Festival, and I'm here with Lumberjunk's Darryl Romphf. Hi, Darryl. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the afternoon to you, yeah.
Bottom of the afternoon?
Bottom of the morning, yeah, that's it.
After 2 shows yesterday, it may be bottom of the afternoon for you. How you feeling today?
Good, really good. Yeah, we're used to doing pretty marathon sets, so it was good, yes.
For anybody who doesn't know Lumberjunk, you've got to check this band out. I watched a show yesterday and spent a large part of the show trying to determine how the heck I was going to describe this band, because it is such a wonderful, eclectic mix of musicians, different styles. Everybody brings something to the table. So instead of me trying to describe it, let me give that job to you.
Easy peasy, yeah. I don't know. It's rock and it's soul and it's blues. Like that's kind of the core of it. There's a lot of different influences. I certainly have a lot of rock influences, but at the same time, a lot of the classic sort of Hendrix, B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Buddy Guy, Taj Mahal, who's at the Blues Fest this year. And that's just my influences. Then you get into Matt's, who's Steve Winwood, Joe Cocker, Allman Brothers, and more modern like Kings of Leon, Black Keys. So we do listen to a lot of stuff across genres, and whatever gets us going, we end up taking a piece of that and bringing it into the band.
It was just awesome when I watched you walk out on stage yesterday, and I saw a rock guitar player, guitar slung really low. Beautiful guitar. We're going to talk about that after.
Yeah.
And then I see a totally funky bass player, and the drummer who is so extremely articulate, and his timing, he could have set a metronome to the lad, and then Matt, young, and the music just pours through him like he's a much older man,
Yeah, the first time you hear Matt sing and play, it's shocking when you find out his age, but he has an old soul for sure. He's a great, genuinely great person, but he channels the music really, really well. There's a lot of unspoken things going on in the band and with Matt in particular that we don't have to talk about. Topics we don't need to discuss, like, oh no, it's got to feel a little more like this, or it has to be put in this certain way. With the organ in particular, the drawbar settings can be intimidating to a young keyboard player, to anybody, period. And there's never any kind of conversation about tones and note choices and placement with him, or really anybody in the band. But it's particularly with Matt, it's always a pleasant surprise every day.
Well, I found that very evident when, you just have to hop on YouTube and peek at a couple of videos, and it's instant how you can tell the band gels. There is a chemistry there that works, and there's so much chemistry, and then seeing you live yesterday just solidified that for us. And I understand what you mean by saying all the unspokens, because it's just there. It's the magic. So how did you come to meet to put this band together?
About a year and a half ago, Darius, the bass player, was approached by Matt saying he was looking for a studio to record some of his stuff with. And Darius said, "You don't need a studio, you need a producer." And so I've been doing artist development and record production for 10 years. That's the biggest thing that I've been doing for the last decade. Playing has been secondary. So I met up with Matt, and we went through about 15 of his songs and just rough demoed them, and I put together different musicians to try and figure out his sound and direction. And he has a real classic writing style, so I wanted to bring that a little more current and make it a little more modern. And so I played with Jamie, the drummer, Jamie Allegre, and Darius McKinley, the bass player, in various different projects over the last 10, 12 years. And so for me, it was natural, his playing style, and I know those guys so well. It's like, hey, let's put them in as the rhythm section. They have a really special drum and bass connection. It's really, really special. And so I thought, hey, I know those guys, and they're fantastic. Let's put that rhythm section, and then I'll play guitar with it, complement your voice and keys, and we'll see how it goes. And literally the 5-song EP that we recorded was the first 4 or 5 days we were together in the room. That's how we decided to. That's how the band came together. Jamie came. He lives in New York, so he flew in from New York. We got together in a studio, and we decided, what are we gonna do? And so we just kind of went through. Let's try this song first, and that's how the EP came out.
It just worked.
There was nothing, no real planning to it, other than let's just get everyone in the room and it'll be okay.
And just turn into big channels, and it just all comes through, and it tied together really beautifully. How did the name come about?
You'll have to ask Matt about that one, but it's Lumberjunk. It's Lumberjunk, yeah. What did I say yesterday? French for large organ? Yes. Yeah. It's French for large organ, yeah.
We'll leave it at that. And can you talk to us a little bit about what you're playing through right now?
It's always, like most guitar players, it's always a constant revolution. But my main guitar is a Gibson 1981 Firebird CMT. So it's a pretty rare bird, and I've had that guitar about 8 years now, and it's been on every record I've ever worked on, and it just works.
That's your go-to guitar.
Yeah, and I mean, it's long and gangly like I am. It fits, and it cuts through the mix so well. And whatever amp you put it through, whatever player, whatever music styles, I've recorded it with in country and metal and rock and blues, and it holds up really, really well. Tuning is fantastic. The tone on it rips, and
yeah, you did the whole show with one guitar yesterday.
yeah, I bring a backup so I don't have to change strings like an idiot. Honestly, yeah, but it just sits there most of the time. The bird's really good to me. Like it takes a lot of abuse.
And what are you playing through?
Amplifiers are always revolving. Right now, I've got a Bogner 212 Alchemist, which is I just have it kind of set to one sound. I don't really use the channel switching features and stuff like that. It's got really cool built-in delay that's got a bit of modulation on it that I really, really dig. It just kind of thickens the sound a bit, and it's kind of like a souped-up super reverb is kind of what they're going for. Somewhere between a boogie and super reverb. I'm not sure, but and then Trainer cabinets, love them, and I've got a little Trainer Canadian made Trainer YGL1. Did all the recording with it. It's just a single 12, I think it's 20-watt combo, and it's bang for the buck. It's an absolutely phenomenal amp, and so I've done all the Lumberjunk recording with that amp and a Soldano Astroverb 16. So.
And how about pedals when you're playing live?
Pedals, with the Bogner, well, pretty much with every amp that I play, I have a Keeley 4-knob Keeley compressor, and it basically stays on all the time. It just hugs the tone. The Firebird is really, really bright and really, really fast. So in the bridge position, and so to round that out a little bit, to bring that attack so it doesn't rip your face off, the Keeley really settles it down nicely, and I like what it does to the bottom. So that pretty much stays on all the time, like a moderate. It's not absolutely slam, but it's on all the time. And then Keeley Time Machine. When I use a bigger rig, I use a dual amps. I'll use, like, say, the Bogner, and the other amp that I'll blend it in with is I have a 65 Fender Bassman head and 212 cabinet, and that usually just stays on one tone. So I have a stereo rig, and my pedal board will go through everything, and it'll change, but my Fender will stay the same. So it's like pick attack. It's got that glassy kind of Fender pick attack, but that Bassman brown sound that just kind of sits in the mix really nicely, and it goes well against it. So it's set to more clean or crunch, and then the other amp I can juice it up if I need a little bit more nuts on it.
So if what's on your wish list? If you got to, what's on your wish list?
Well, the next major amp purchase will be a Soldano SLO 100. I do a lot of recording with them, and they suit my style and my approach a lot. The Warren Haynes I consider to be my favorite guitar player, and his tone. First time I heard his tone, it was like, what is that? So found out it was an SLO 100, and kind of I approached the guitar, particularly from my right hand perspective, using the pick and fingers to soften. I like a more rounded sound. Even though sometimes it can get really bright and cutting, I like to soften that blow a little bit with using the fingers and the pick.
Yeah, that's the first first rule of tone, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you want to, your fingers sound better a lot of the times. A pick can sometimes, I use a really, really fat pick. I've been on these John Pierce picks. They're kind of like a country player's pick. And they've got like a molded, carved out little spot in the pick for your thumb to rest. And I'm going to guess they're like 2 or 2.5 mil. Like they're big. So I used to pick really, really hard and to try and get a fatter tone. So I'm going with a bigger pick and trying to pick a lot lighter and using my fingers. So with a big, like 2 mil and above pick, it sounds closer to your fingers. It's fatter. So the tone is more even across the guitar. So it suits my style. So.
And what was the last piece of gear that you came across that made you excited and inspired to do something new?
The Empress Super Delay is absolutely phenomenal delay. In a stereo rig, if you have a wet-dry rig, you put it on the wet side only. You can get a really cool fat, like pseudo stereo, like wide sound with 2 amps. One being dry, one being wet. Instead of like a natural like left and right stereo, it's more like a wet-dry. And that pedal can do that really, really well for whatever reason. There's something in the modulation and it's really, really cool. So that pedal really took me back. But that and the new Trainer cabinets. Like, I can't say enough good stuff about their new Trainer cabinets. They're angled speakers, Celestion 25-watt greenbacks, closed back, but you can open up the back. So right now with my Bogner 212, it's open back. And I prefer a bit more the punch of the closed back, a little more focused. 412 cabs and stuff like that, but sometimes with the stages and the setups, it's not realistic for me to bring in a big, 2 412 wet dry rig or whatever. Sometimes it's a single 12 combo and it's stacked on top of a Leslie, right, depending on where we are. So the Trainer cabs are really, really versatile for that. I put it underneath the Bogner 212 closed back, underneath the Bogner open back, and it's awesome. I really, really dig it. So
beautiful. I guess Lumberjunk is at an advantage in many aspects because of your background, and you know what to work to get the sound that you want in the environment that you want. So I guess that really helps when you're touring, which you do quite a bit of, right? You do a lot of shows, right?
Yeah, we play more and more often, but realistically speaking, we've only been a band since January. And we did the EP. The first 5 days, or the 5 days that we did the record, the EP of 5 songs, were the first 5 days we were a band ever. And those 5 songs were recorded live off the floor. So the drums and the bass and the guitar and the organ are unedited, untouched, and there's no drum samples. There's nothing hidden about it. It's live.
Which is why you can reproduce it live.
It's literally the same guitar and the same amp and the same bass and it's the same. The people are the same, the gear is the same. So when people come and see us and they say, wow, you sound exactly like the record, it's like, well, no, the record sounds like we do live. It's a reverse.
That's a cool way to do it, though.
Yeah, and in an age where, like, having an extensive studio background, I know how to chop things up. I know how to make records happen. I know how to, the smoke and mirrors approach to making a great sounding record. Knowing that and using that knowledge, but leaving it on the table is really difficult. Really, really difficult. Because you want to go, I can get in there. I can get in there. But we really made a conscious decision to not do that. So we would play the song 4, 5, 6 times, and then usually the last take that we did, we could feel that was the one. And we'd go listen to it. And if there was a bum note or one section for whatever reason just wasn't as good as the rest of the song, I would grab it from another take.
Right.
But it was the whole band. It was the whole, and there were very minimal cuts and edits to that.
So it's very authentic.
Yeah, and it was really important to us. I mean, a lot of people talk about, let's be a band and go in and do live off the floor, and it's a horrible idea for most bands. It really is a horrible idea because it's not doing your band any favors. No. And I mean, it's better to lie. It's better to go in and do the smoke and mirrors and punch everything in and tune and time it and do that, and then tell your friends that you did it live off the floor, because at least it'll sound good. But a lot of bands just don't have the right approach, either stylistically or from a player's perspective, or arrangements or gear and tone choices. There's so many variables, things that can go horribly wrong, that will actually do more harm to your band and your sound than going for that holy grail of live off the floor. But because of the studio background that I have and the extensive amount of playing that the band has done. Even though Matt's really young, he knows his stuff, and he would, the rhythm section surrounding it, like holding it up. It worked. It worked for our band, our sound. I wouldn't recommend it for every band, but if you can do it, great, because it has that authenticity that works for us at this level right now.
And what's next for Lumberjunk?
We're back in the studio. We're about halfway through. We've done the bed tracks for 6 more songs, and so we'll be back into that. We play. We have a couple shows like for the rest of the fall and stuff. But this whole year, we've just talked about it being a setup year. We're just a band, right? There's no real delusions of grandeur and some large-scale marketing scheme. Our marketing scheme is show up, shut up, play. That's it, right? We get in the room, we take it seriously enough that we have our stuff together, but we also know how to laugh and have fun with it. We realize it's music, it's a band, and we're there to entertain, and we're there to have fun.
Well, and I was watching the audience yesterday too, and very, very wide demographic. And I was looking around and at the number of people that knew the words to your original songs, and 18, 19, 20 years old, all the way up. And it was fascinating to see the hundreds of people there, and everybody was into it. It was brilliant. Like, it managed to get everybody who was there involved and engaged, and that's when you know you've got something magical. So I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing a whole lot more of Lumberjunk in the very near future.
What's that? What boost pedal are you using? The boost is a Keeley Java boost, and it's really gain and volume dependent as to where your amp is at. So I have to get it at a certain volume, and then
adjust it for every place you're in.
Yeah, the volume knob changes, and I roll the tone way back. It's a pretty bright pedal, but I just love what it does. It's somewhere between not a fuzz face, and not a tube screamer, and not a classic treble boost, but it has a little bit of all of those.
Yeah, I think Keeley and Exotic probably make the 2 best.
I love their stuff. That Time Machine pedal that I use with the basement's pretty clean up to like 6 or so, and which is an ungodly amount of volume for most of the time.
Yeah, you can't really use it.
Yeah, so I put the volume at like 1.5 on the basement, and then kick the Time Machine on, and that modern side of the Time Machine, I don't know if you're familiar with that pedal. I love it. I love it. In the studio, it's in the Keeley compressor, pretty much stay on all the time. And like, doesn't matter the genre of the record. So I love the Keeley stuff. I mean, I try not to be a fanboy for like any one particular, like I'm not going to go out and tell everyone to play a Firebird because I love my Firebird. But Keeley, I just keep, every time I plug in one of their pieces, like 9 times out of 10, it ends up on my board, right? So it's like, wow, I guess I like Keeley stuff.
Future, and thanks for sitting with us today.
Thank you.